Hello, everybody. This is Nelson Del Pino. Today, I'd like to talk about balance. It's about 1 in the morning. It's Saturday. I just finished the 3rd of January, 2026, and this is part of a new series. I'm talking about different topics that relate to health, wealth, and prosperity. What creates health helps with your health to gain health or regain your health, wealth, and prosperity. Okay, and so I have a wonderful New Year's Day, very productive, wonderful second day of the year, and now I'm starting the third day of the year. I stayed up till now, different issues coming up sometimes, so I sometimes have to go to bed early or earlier, and sometimes I get to bed later. So today is the time I'm going to go to bed a little later, but I'll still get up early before my caregiver comes at early in the morning at 9. Now, I love routine. I love variety. I hate repetition when it's just redundant. I don't like to repeat myself. If it's more than, if I say something, I like to say it once. When I have to start repeating myself, where I'm becoming redundant, I get very tired, very bored. Now, that's just my personality. As you study yourself, get to know yourself, you recognize different habits have different characteristics. If you're doing a job that's very repetitive work, very redundant kind of work, it gets to be very, not just tedious, but very exhausting. If you find some line of work that you find variety that you can apply in your life, so you're able to, let's say, improvise, uh, that creates, re-energizes you. Um, some people are naturally good at improvisation. Some people are better and more effective with repetition. So that's called personality typing. There's certain traits or characteristics that each different people's personalities have. There's also different systems of ways to study and personality. There's the MBTI is one approach. There's just Carl Jung's view of personalities, which is what MBTI, Myers-Briggs type indicators was based upon. And and then there's my typing method. I even have my own typing method, which takes into account a lot of different systems and approaches that allows me to use them or combine them into one. So, for example, with MBTI, I also use enneagrams as subtypes. Now, I know here I'm talking a bit technically, but these are topics that if you want to look into personalities, typing, and how to know yourself, different ways to approach the subject, then you can look these things up yourself. So that kind of comes to my next point is I'm very philosophical. I would have been a philosopher and major and would have be teaching philosophy in some college, university, if I had my way. In fact, I did take some philosophy courses when I was in school, in the college, and even audited courses, graduate courses on philosophy. But when I met people who were philosophers, had degrees, doctor's degrees in philosophy, and who taught philosophy, they had a really, really high GPA. Their grades were straight A's, and only unless you have super high grades can you go to the best universities. The one person I'm talking about, he went to Brown University, then ended up a professor at the University of Washington, and he was a young guy, but he had all the right credentials and all the right training. So it's sort of like someone may want to grow up to be a basketball player, right? But they're too short. and they don't meet all the criteria to be able to play in the NBA. But does that mean they can't like basketball? No, they can play basketball. But there's certain standards you have to meet in order to achieve certain kinds of goals. So I never realized my dream of officially being a philosopher, but intellectually, psychologically, philosophy is my favorite subject because I find that philosophy is just about asking questions and then finding answers, but looking to find your own answers rather than just asking other people for their opinions or their answers. And so the how do you put it? The primary objective of philosophy and of philosophers is self-knowledge. Know yourself. You know, physician, heal yourself. If you have an illness, you don't just go to a doctor. Realize that all healing ultimately is self-healing. And so as you're able to heal yourself, then you find that with a doctor's assistance, medical assistance, you're able to do better, I believe, than if you just relied on other people's understanding to help you help yourself. You got to help, you have to want to know yourself. Now, that's where, if you look at religion, originally, theology schools used to teach, or schools of philosophy originally. There was no such thing initially of theology schools, but the first schools were institutions of philosophies that also were Christian institutions that taught theology and Christian doctrines and practices. And so I love theology, but I like it in the context of, philosophy is about looking for context and words, meaning of words not meaningful unless you know their context and the etymology of a word, which means the origin of a word. It's important to know these things, study these things when you want to know things for yourself. And so I've always had this curiosity to want to know things for myself. But at the same time, I'm a Christian, I'm a practicing Christian, and my father wanted me to be a pastor, and I went to I wanted to go to theology school. But my father I came from a fundamentalist Christian background. They call that a holy roller background. So everything I did, my father disapproved. If I wanted to read philosophy, he said it was of the devil. And if I wanted to listen to rock and roll music, I was only to listen to Christian music, but then it had to be the kind of Christian music he approved of. Well, so I loved rock and roll. My curiosity made me want to learn about all kinds of music. So I ended up being a private music teacher because I love teaching all different styles of music, all different kinds of music. People often ask me, my students often ask me, what's my favorite kind of music? And I really like pretty much everything: rap, pop, rock, jazz, you name it. And so I have a very eclectic taste, but I like it that way. And I study world religions. I don't just study Christian doctrine and Christian ideology. I'm interested in religious practices. How do different religious practices and what they entail? That's kind of, you could call that a philosophical approach. Just trying to understand people and trying to understand yourself. And so I'm a complicated person, but I'm not. I just have my own personality and my own likes and dislikes and preferences and interests. But I like being interested, teaching, because it gives me an opportunity to get interested in what other people are interested, and then seeing what I can do to further my interest and theirs as well. So that's what this channel is about. If you want to put a structure to what I want to discuss are topics pertaining to health, wealth, and prosperity. You know, how do you succeed? How do you achieve your goals? How do you live your dreams, or can you live a dream? And how do you have a vision for success? So the latter has to do with they're all everything's connected, and as you're able to explore the inner world and outer world, you see more and more how things are related, and how you're related to all things. And so that's again philosophy has many different branches and different aspects of philosophy. There are different aspects of theology, philological studies. There are different aspects of psychology and how to study and uh, learn psychology. When I was a teenager in college, or a young man in college, I had a college professor, a psychology professor named Dr. Lindbergh. And I learned a lot from him because I was really excited about psychology. He would take us to field trips, and then I would go out and see. We went to insane asylum back then. They called them insane asylums, and I would go and see the people that were regarded as insane. And Dr. Lindbergh would being a psychologist. He would talk with the students about the medical practices. Does some psychology uses more is more behavioral, so it focuses more on uh, uh, you know uh, taking medication, using medication as a form of treatment. Well, other forms of psychology like phenomenology, and these are different schools or methods of psychology, it focuses more on just human development, and that without medication, there's things you can do, and behaviors you can change that can help you improve your health, wealth, and prosperity in abundance in your life. So Bob became a friend, and we were close friends for 40 years until his passing. And I was so blessed to be personally friends with a psychologist who was a very special man and human being to me. Now, because I've had all these interests, I've had many friends and mentors. I've had the best, I think. And I had Hubert Lindsay. Dr. Hubert Lindsay was a mentor of mine who was a theologian. He had a doctor in theology, uh, and uh, and so was very helpful to me when I would study and read the Bible. He taught me my first lessons in etymology, which is knowing what words mean, and eschatology and epistemology, which is there's, like I say, it's a philosophical aspect. There's philosophical branches of philosophy that overlap with theology when you go into a theology school. And so Dr. Lindsay was somebody that I cling to as a mentor and friend, and I was so lucky. So I like to tell these stories about my mentors because I met many great people. I've had many great mentors. And some people I did not know them in any great, necessarily in any great depth. But there's those people, like I met Miles Davis when I was in college. He came there were many celebrities who would come and teach in the colleges and the schools when I was a kid or young man. And so I had a lot of opportunities to meet celebrities that would come and visit the schools at different times for different reasons. I met Dizzy Gillespie, Isaac Stern. Those people came when I was in high school. And I've had such a rich life. Such a rich life. And so about 6 months ago, I ended up in the hospital. I was spent 6 months in a hospital. And it just gave me time to think about what a rich and wonderful life I've really had. And so I started to feel gratitude and thankful for my life, even though I was very, very ill, very sick. It's like I felt thankful rather than thankless. You know, the more thankful I felt, the more ingratitude I had, the more meaningful I found in my life, just as it is. My life has been good, and it's helped me to reconcile a lot of my fears and doubts and uncertainties I've lived in my life. So I know that I'm saying a mouthful today, but I've started in the last few times to post on YouTube. I'm posting on YouTube. Find me on YouTube at nelson@vocalmaestro.com. The reason I'm posting on YouTube is because I'm doing a longer form videos that I'm posting there. And then I'll be taking segments of this videos as well and posting them on YouTube and on Instagram and other social media. I'm in the process of rebuilding my social media. I've got only a few followers here and there, but I've had also experience in social media at different times. Where I was paid to be a business consultant for example, and their consulting often is very short gigs. I made in one job I made $5,000 in just a few weeks, few weeks. But then the gig was over, and didn't consult again for. So I have a lot of different interests where sometimes I've been able to earn, but they've always been short lived. So I've never really accumulated much wealth, but I've had a wealthy life in terms of my adventures and personal experiences. I've enjoyed a lot of interesting jobs and diverse kinds of work. But now I'm this stage in my life, I'm looking for ways to integrate these interests of mine to where I could just have more health, wealth, and prosperity, given my health and my wealth. So I'm learning how to earn more money when I need to make more money, how to save money when I need to save money, and how to spend money when I can to invest money. And so this is heaven, man. That's what I want to learn. I want to learn the ropes, how to make money, So it doesn't matter if I, you know, ever became a billionaire, but I find it interesting how do people invest money and then able to make $1 million, $1 billion, and what's the difference between investing and just spending and wasting money? See, those are philosophical questions. I ask myself these things. I go out, search them, find answers, and then I find people who can teach me these things that help to enrich and in my life, embolden my life, enrich my life experience. And so there's a lot here I like to share. I want to share really my life story, but it's not just my life and my life story. It's the story of all the people who've helped me, and my gratitude to God and to them for their service. Okay? So I'm here for you now. I'm your vocal maestro. That means I'm a vocal person more than anything else. I'm wanting to be transparent. I want to speak as plainly as I can so that even when I'm talking about all these different topics that may not be particularly of interest to you, you can see by my transparency that if they interest you, then I'm more than happy to share them with you. And so this is where social media comes in, trying to find my audience and try to identify the subjects that align with my audience's interests. And so stay tuned now. I'm Nelson Del Pino, your vocal maestro. I love you. I want to help you, and I want to help myself and right along with you so we can grow and prosper together. Okay? So talk to you later. Bye bye.